The ice moon of Vornar 3 was quiet now. Too quiet. Broken ships lay half buried in the snow. Metal was twisted and black. Smoke rose in thin lines into the gray sky. The wind blew across the battlefield, carrying the smell of burned metal and blood. Karoth, Alpha of the Dravari Warpack, stood in the middle of the ruins. He was huge. More than 3 meters tall, his body covered in dark blue scales. His eyes glowed faint gold in the dim light. His claws could cut armor. His fangs could break bone, but now his hands shook, not from the cold, from something worse. At his feet lay the body of his mate Lyra. Her silver scales were dull and cracked. A black burn mark ran through her chest where the enemy shot had hit her. The snow around her was red and melted. Karoth sank to his knees beside her and touched her face with the back of his claw. Her eyes were still open, staring at the sky that she would never see change. "Again, the raiders will pay," he whispered. His voice was low and rough. "They will all pay." The attack had come fast. Mercenaries, hired by someone who feared the Dravari. They wanted to stop the peace talks before they started, so they hit the camp without warning. Had killed his mate, they had bombed the dens. The dens were his 3 cubs had been hiding. Karoth turned his head and looked toward the southern ridge. There the dens were only a memory now. The ground was broken and burned. A wide crater still glowed faintly with orange light. That had been their safe place. The place where his cubs slept. Now it was just a hole. Karoth's chest felt empty. His throat closed. He tried to roar, but at first no sound came. Then it all exploded at once. His roar shook the ice. Snow fell from the rocky cliffs. The sound was pain, rage, and loss mixed together. His cubs gone. He had failed them. He had failed Lyra. For a moment, the Alpha, who had led 10 warpacks, who had survived 50 battles, could not move. He just knelt in the snow beside his mate and stared at the crater. It felt like the universe had shrunk to 2 things: the body at his feet and the empty hole in the ground. "Alpha Karoth." The voice was small, soft, human. Karoth spun around with a snarl. His claws flexed, ready to tear apart whoever had dared come close. Then he froze. A human was walking toward him across the ice. It was a woman. She wore a torn environmental suit. Parts of it were burned away. The wind tore at the fabric and exposed pink skin. That should not survive this cold. In her arms she carried 3 small shapes, 3 Dravari cubs. His cubs. Rin, Yodo, little Sial. Their dark eyes were wide with fear. Their tiny claws clung to her suit. Sial was whimpering softly. Jaro's scales were dirty with ash. Rin had a cut above one eye, but they were breathing, alive. The human stumbled and dropped to one knee about 10 meters away. Her legs were shaking. Frost covered her hair. Her lips were blue. Burns marked her face and hands where her suit had melted. But she did not let go of the cubs, not even a little. "I got them out," she whispered. Her breath turned to ice in the air. The den, it collapsed. Fire everywhere. "I got them out." Karoth stared at her. His mind struggled to understand. He knew this human. Her name was Alina Ward. She was a xenobiologist sent by the Human Alliance. Her job had been to study Dravari pack behavior to help with the peace talks. She watched the cubs sometimes. She had asked questions. She took notes. Karoth had thought she was soft, fragile, just another human. Scientist who needed machines to survive. Yet here she was burned, half frozen, bleeding, holding his children like they were the most precious things in the Galactic. Took a step closer. Then another. The cubs saw him and cried out, "Papa!" Rin chirped, "Papa." Jaro shouted. Little Sia just reached one tiny claw toward him and sobbed. Alina tried to stand again, but her legs gave out. She fell to both knees this time, almost dropping the cubs. Karoth moved quick and caught them before they hit the ground. They clung to his chest. Burying their faces in his scales, he felt their small hearts beating fast. He smelled smoke in there. Fur, he heard Sia hiccup with little gasps. Alive. He looked down at Elena. Her hands were shaking badly now. Frostbite had turned some of her fingers dark. The burns on her arms were ugly and deep. Her suit alarms were flashing red. You, Karath said slowly. You went into the fire for them. Elena gave a weak laugh that turned into a cough. I was already nearby, she said. Her voice sounded far away. I heard the charges go off. The den collapsed. They were trapped. I couldn't just leave them. You are human, Karath said. The fire, the cold. This moon kills your kind. Yes, she said. Her eyes were unfocused. But she still tried to smile. It hurts like hell. She coughed again. Blood on her lips this time, I promise, Lyra, Lena whispered. She asked me to watch them if she had to go to the front line. I told her I'd keep them safe. She looked at the crater, then back at him. I was too late for her, but not for them. Lena's arms finally dropped to her sides. Her body leaned forward, and she collapsed into the snow satsa. Roth could see it clearly now. Her body was shutting down. The heat was leaving her, by all logic. By every rule of nature he knew, she should already be dead. No human could live through that much fire. And then this much cold. But humans, he realized, did not always follow logic. Karath set his cubs down gently beside him. They pressed against his legs, whimpering. But he spoke softly in his own language, and they stayed close. He pulled off his war-dash cloak. It was thick, made from woven heat fibers and lined with Dravari silk. It held his body warmth even in deep space. He wrapped it around Elena's body, covering her completely. Then he lifted her in his arms. She was light, too light. Stay awake. Human, he rumbled. You do not have my permission to die. Her eyes fluttered a little. Bossy, she whispered. Even now her voice was barely a breath. Karath did not smile, but something in his chest loosened. It's just a little. He looked toward the emergency beacon tower on the far ridge. The nearest medical station was many kilometers away, across frozen land that would kill almost any other species, but Dravari ice and rock were his home. He lifted Elena higher in his arms, checked that his cubs were close behind, and started walking. The wind cut at him. Ice cracked under his feet as he walked. Elena drifted in and out of awareness. Sometimes she muttered broken sentences. They tried to shoot them. She murmured once, the mercs. They found the den. I told them the cubs were dangerous research samples. Needed alive, she laughed weakly. Idiots believed me. Karath's grip tightened around her. Careful not to hurt her more. She had lied to armed killers. She had stood between their weapons and his children. For what? He asked softly. Why would you do this? They are not your kind. Her eyes opened a little, just enough to meet his. They're children, she whispered. That's all that matters. Someone had to help. No one else was there. Her eyes closed again. Her breathing grew weaker. Karath walked faster. By the time he reached the medical station, Elena's heart had stopped once. Then twice, human doctors and Dravari healers rushed out to meet him. They shouted orders. They used tools and machines. They pressed bands on her chest, forced air into her lungs, injected cold, clear medicine into her. Vane's Karath stood outside the medroom with his cubs around. His legs had listened. He had faced fleets. He had faced assassins. He had faced death more times than he could count. But he had never been this afraid. Hours passed at last. A human doctor came out. His face was tired, but he smiled. She's alive, he said. Somehow. I don't understand it. She shouldn't be, but she is. Karath let out a long breath he didn't know he was holding. His shoulders sagged. Rin, Yarrow, and Sial all chirped happily and bounced around his legs. Is Mama Lel okay? Sia asked in a small voice. They sometimes called her that. Mama-L. Lyra had laughed the first time she heard it. Yes, Karath said. She will be okay. 3 months later, the peace meeting between the Dravari Pride and the Human Alliance took place. On a neutral station above Vorne R-3. Leaders from both sides filled a large round hall. Many watched Karath as he entered. Some with fear, some with anger, some with tired hope. At his side walked Elena. She still moved carefully. Her burns had healed into pale scars along her arms and neck. Her hands were covered with flexible medical gloves to protect the new skin, but she walked alive.ca. Roth's 3 cubs ran ahead of them, chasing each other around the chairs. Their scales shone. Their eyes were bright. Their laughter echoed through the hall. When the room settled, Karov stepped forward. "I was taught," he said, his deep voice filling the chamber, "that humans were weak." He paused, that they were soft prey, smart with tools, but fragile in body and spirit. He placed one heavy claw gently on Elena's shoulder. "I was wrong." Murmurs spread through the hall. Some faces turned angry, some curious. Karov continued, "Raiders attacked our camp. They killed my mate. They destroyed the den where my cubs slept." He looked around slowly, letting the next words land. "I believed my cubs dead, but this human..." No. He squeezed Elena's shoulder lightly, ran into fire and falling stone. "She risked her life in freezing air. Her kind cannot survive. She used her own body warmth to keep my cubs alive." He turned to look at her. She shifted, clearly uncomfortable with the attention, but said nothing. "She saved what I could not," Karov said. "Not for power, not for money, not because anyone ordered her. She did it because they were children." He looked back at the other leaders. "You say humans are soft," he went on. "I tell you this, any species that runs into fire for another's young is not weak. They are dangerous in a way our weapons cannot measure." He drew himself up to his full height. "This human is now part of my pack. She is Dravari by honor. Any who harm her will answer to me." Voices rose all around the hall. Some shouted in protest, others argued back. Some sat in stunned silence. Karath did not care. He had learned something the rest of the galaxy had not yet understood. Human strength was not in their ships, not in their guns, not even in their clever machines. It was in their strange, wild hearts, in their refusal to walk away, in their choice to help, even when it hurt, in their willingness to be broken so that others might live. As the debate raged on, Rin climbed into Elena's lap. Yarrow curled up at her feet. Little Tsael took her human hand and held it tight. Elena smiled down at them, tired but warm. Karath watched them and felt something new settle into his chest. Not just grief, not just anger, something like hope.